The reality of being a grown ass person really hits when you hit your 20s. The subtle crutch that people allow you when you're being stupid is definitely taken away when you hit this point, because up to now, you were only a kid or a teen, and as much as most folk wanted to deck you for your idiocy, you were still a youngster, so they restrained themselves at least to some extent. Now that you're in the ring with the rest of us as a 20-something-year-old, people give even less of a bollocks about you, so you're gonna have to survive by yourself, mate. This prospect might seem overwhelming. You might be thinking, fuck, I can barely brush my teeth by myself. How is someone like me meant to navigate the world of actual adulthood? Well, lad, don't you worry. You're in reasonably safe hands. I might be old, but I haven't developed arthritis yet. I got you covered, mate. Number 1. You need moolah. One of the key things to surviving your 20s is being able to financially sustain yourself. For most 20-something-year-olds, the wallet of mommy and daddy isn't going to be around anymore, so you gotta find yourself a source of income. Now, I'm not like these other online fuckers telling you that, for example, you need to set up an overcharged course which adds absolutely fuck all value to the world, or that you should sell your feet pics online. I'm not even saying you need to have a full-on career sorted out during this time either. All you gotta do is pay your monthly bills, lad. This will typically include rent so you don't die of exposure, food and water so you don't die of starvation or dehydration, and alcohol so you don't die from too much thinking. Bottom line, follow your own path, but you need to support yourself. Whether you want to be a CEO or a dominatrix, having a job is critical to surviving your 20s and beyond. Number 2. Minimize the poor choices you make which you are consciously aware of. Basically, when you know something is a stupid idea and is likely going to produce a situation with negative consequences that you can't handle, then rise above your own idiocy and don't act on that stupid idea. You can be forgiven if you do everything the right way and end up with a shit situation. Nobody can fault you for that, but if you choose to be a moron and find yourself in a spot reflecting your poor choices, then don't go crying about it, you gowl. You've only yourself to blame. Rising above your own conscious stupidity will result in life being far more tolerable. You'll still probably find yourself in a load of shite because you're you, but at least you know things could have been worse if you acted on all the other dumb ideas you had, mate. Number 3. Narrow your horizon. There's nothing more suffocating than the prospect of trying to have the next 5, 10, 20, 50 years figured out. Trying to figure out your future in detail too far ahead is like trying to inspect the rocks of a mountain sitting 2 miles away. You ain't seeing shit. Well, apart from the fact you'll be kicking rocks at some point. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't plan some things for the long haul, like a pension or a historical figure costume collection. You'd be stupid if you didn't, but don't think you need to have all the answers for your future that far ahead right now. Before you get to step 10, you need to tackle step 1. Focus on the next year or two when it comes to planning in detail. If you do that, you'll likely minimize the amount of foreseeable fuckery coming your way. Well, probably. Number 4. Don't let others dictate where you should be. There's plenty of people who'll tell you what you should be doing by a certain age. For example, graduate college, own a home, be trapped in a failing marriage, have little monsters running around the place, that kind of thing. The reality is, there's no blueprint to life. Others' expectations of you should mean absolutely fuck all when it comes to how you see yourself and where you should be. Everybody goes at their own pace, mate. There have been people who figured out what they wanted to do in their teens, became a multimillionaire in their 20s, and died at 30. And there's been people who hadn't a fucking clue what they wanted to do until they were 60 and lived a happy life until they were 90. Life is fucking bananas like that. My advice would be to take what others say with a pinch of salt, especially non-constructive commentary. At the end of the day, it's your life. As questionable as your choices might be, you gotta live it for you. And lastly, number 5, tell despair to fuck off. It doesn't matter how well you think you're doing. It doesn't matter if you've done everything the right way. It doesn't matter if you've achieved your goals. You will have moments of vulnerability. Whether it's you struggling to get a job, or getting over a lost relationship, or the grief you experience after finishing the last tater crisp in a packet which cured your childhood trauma for just a moment. Bottom line, there will be times when despair comes knocking on your door. Matter of fact, there will be times when despair kicks down your door and forces its way in. A key attitude to surviving, especially in your 20s, is making sure you actively fight against despair. Make sure that fucker doesn't feel welcome. He might hang around for a minute, a day, a week, a year, or even years, but you have an obligation to yourself to make sure despair is out the door as soon as possible. Kind of like an ex or certain visiting family members. To conclude, navigating your 20s is like walking in the dark. You won't be able to see shit most of the time. You'll likely trip over many things many times because you're a clumsy fucker, but despite the uncomfortable nature of trying to figure things out while not really knowing what the fuck is going on, rest easy, knowing that all you can do is move forward as best you can. It's your first shot at life, so be a bit kinder to yourself, mate. And if shit doesn't work out now, fuck it. You can always figure things out in your 30s.